The Holy Quran is primarily a book of guidance, not a book of science, yet it contains numerous verses that signal significant scientific and technological discoveries. These signals are worded in such a way that their true interpretations could only be fully understood when these inventions and advancements materialize. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful, we will show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that it, the Quran, is the truth. Regarding the verse that signals gradual developments in transportation and communication, do they not see that we, Allah, keep coming upon the earth, gradually reducing it from its extremities? Verse 44 from chapter 21 alludes to a trend where all points on earth would seem to become closer to one another in some way. In fact, this verse summarizes the advancements we now enjoy in transportation and communication. Realistically, it would have been inappropriate to speak literally about airplanes and rockets in the Quran, as this would have confused the people of that time, more than 1400 years ago, and likely led them to mock or accuse the Prophet Muhammad of insanity. Instead, the Quran referred to such advancements indirectly. Who could produce such a short yet profound summary verse 1400 years ago, except the Creator, Allah? In the past, the primary means of transport and carrying loads on land were certain animals that Allah created for this purpose. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. And Allah has created the horses, mules, and donkeys for you to ride, and as adornment, and He creates that which you do not know. The latter part of verse 8 from chapter 16, and He, Allah, creates that which you do not know, signals the future development of engine-powered vehicles such as cars, buses, trucks, and trains. These engine vehicles, being much faster than animals, have drastically reduced travel time between points on Earth. At the time of the Quran's revelation, more than 1400 years ago, people were familiar with ships, especially from the story of Noah's Ark mentioned in the scriptures. Therefore, the Quran's description of modern ships should not have been surprising. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. And to Allah belong the ships towering on the sea like landmarks. The Quran uses the term fulk to describe any means of transport other than animals, whether on land, water, or air. Prophet Noah built his fulk ship under Allah's supervision. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. So we, Allah, inspired him, Noah, construct the fulk ship under our observation and inspiration. And when our command comes and the oven overflows, put into it from each creature 2 mates. The fulk ship of Prophet Noah must have been enormous and miraculous, accommodating all kinds of creatures and withstanding massive waves described in the Quran as like mountains. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. And a sign for them is that we, Allah, carried their ancestors in the laden fulk ship, and we created for them the likes of it that they ride. The phrase, "and we created the likes of it that they ride," signals to today's massive engine-powered ships, which carry huge cargoes, vehicles, and fuel, and travel at high speeds. It would have been inappropriate to mention airplanes and rockets directly in the Quran, as it would have confused the people of that time. The Quran, however, refers to these means of air travel indirectly. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. There is no creature on earth, nor a bird that flies with its 2 wings, but communities like you. Verse 38 of chapter 6 subtly signals that future flying objects will not depend on wings alone. Today, these wings are engines, and these flying objects are airplanes. The Quran calls on mankind to observe and study Allah's signs in the skies. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Say, O Muhammad, observe what is in the skies. And how many signs within the skies and the earth do they pass over while neglecting them? Observing and studying the signs in the skies now involves traveling in airplanes, rockets, and spaceships. The Quran also contains verses signaling travel through the skies. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. And they, the unbelievers, said, "We will not believe in you, O Muhammad, unless you ascend to the sky." And even if we, Allah, opened for them a gate in the sky and they continued to ascend, they would say, "Our eyes have been dazzled. Rather, we are a people affected by magic. Whoever Allah wants to guide, He opens his chest to Islam. But whoever He wants to misguide, He makes his chest constricted as if he were ascending into the sky." The Quran could not have mentioned the internet directly, as it would have confused the people of that time. Instead, the Quran describes a trend where all points on earth would become closer to each other. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Do they not see that we, Allah, keep coming upon the earth, gradually reducing it from its extremities? This has become clear to us with the overwhelming developments in communication technologies, where information now travels at speeds approaching the speed of light. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. And say, O Muhammad, praise be to Allah. He will show you His signs, and you will recognize them. Examples of such inventions include telegraphs, telephones, radio, television, radar, fax machines, computers, the internet, emails, mobile phones, social media, online business, online education, online conferences, and more. Another verse that aligns with communication developments is where Allah swears by the pen and by what people inscribe. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful, by the pen and by what they inscribe. For Allah to swear by what mankind inscribes, that inscription must be significant. In the time of the Quran's revelation, most people were illiterate, and inscription was minimal. Today we understand this verse better. The phrase, by what they inscribe, signals the digital inscriptions we now see on screens everywhere, on televisions, to computers, phones, and large public displays. In conclusion, the gradual developments in transportation and communication, especially in the last 100 years, allow us to interpret the Quranic verse. In the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Do they not see that we, Allah, keep coming upon the earth, gradually reducing it from its extremities? In transportation, the physical movement of people and goods between any 2 points on earth now takes significantly less time, making distant points feel closer. In communication, information travels between any 2 points at near light speed, making the verse's interpretation even more vivid and profound. And to those who attribute these discoveries and inventions solely to mankind, the Quran replies, in the name of Allah, God, the most gracious, the most merciful. And fear Him, Allah, who provided you with that which you know, and Allah has created you and what you make. In essence, true believers do not think they can accomplish anything independent of Allah, and they remain ever grateful to Him.